My name is Glenn from Sansa Digital. I'm a full stack software developer with about 3 years of experience. The essence of this lesson is to show you how to create a simple website design using HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap. You don't need any prior experience with web design or development to be able to sit through this course. The purpose of this course is to take you from zero to hero in terms of web design and development. We are going to be designing a simple blog page, and over the coming weeks, I'm going to produce more tutorials on other aspects of web development such as UI, UX, and backend development, such that by the end of this series, you are going to have everything you need to know to become a full stack web developer. So sit tight and watch this space. In this tutorial, we are going to be discussing an integrated development environment, which is basically where you write your code as a developer, cloning the GitHub repo, HTML, the different elements in HTML, basic structure of a web page, CSS, different aspects of CSS such as Flexbox and grid specificity, best practices such as inline styles and how to import style sheets, code arrangement, neatness, documentation, and how to make comments in HTML and CSS, basic search engine optimization practices, and how to use external packages and libraries such as Bootstrap, jQuery, and Slide. This is how an IDE looks like. This is Visual Studio Code. There are plenty of IDEs out there. There is Falcon, there is PHP Storm. So you can download any IDE depending on your preferences and customize it any way you want. As you can see, you have the menu items at the top. You can create a new file here. You can call it maybe python.py and create file. And as you can see, it comes with the Python icon. The software automatically detects the language you want to use depending on the extension. Python uses .py. You can also create a file using this shortcut here on this icon. We can see my php.php. And as you can see now, this is a PHP file, and you can see the icon is different. The elephant represents PHP. So basically that's just how you create files. You can import an existing file. Maybe there is a project you are working on. You can open, as you can see, it goes to, you can open any previous app you are working on. You can also download any extensions that you might want. For instance, maybe as you can see, you can look for GitHub Copilot. So you can look for any other extension that you might think might augment your development experience. So personally, I like using Visual Studio Code. If you want to download Visual Studio, you can just search Visual Studio Code download. And click on the first link, and you can see there are different versions depending on your operating system. Personally, I'm using Mac, so if I wanted to download, I will download the Mac version, but download any according to your operating system. So now let's go to the GitHub repo so that we can clone the repository that we're going to be working on. GitHub is a cloud platform where developers can store their code, they can do versioning of their code, they can collaborate. Think of it like Dropbox, but for code and for developers. So it's an essential tool to use, especially when you're working in the corporate setting, you are working with a team. So many employers will look for GitHub version control skills when they are looking for talent to hire. So I would advise you to also brush on your skills on GitHub, or try to learn it if you haven't already interacted with it before, because many employers will be looking for guys with prior experience with GitHub, because this is what they use on a day-to-day basis. So I'm just going to look for our specific repository. It's called simple website layout and style. And you can just, when you click this link and you put it on your IDE, it's going to to and you can paste it on your terminal. Sorry. You can just write git clone. This is the command line. I don't think I've shown you how a terminal looks, but think of it as how you interact with your machine. So if you, I'm not going to run the command, but you can run this command on your end because I've already cloned the specific repository, but it's going to pull everything from this online platform and it will replicate it on your own machine. So that's the beauty with GitHub, because let's say you can also check the history. Maybe you wanted to review some changes you made a few months ago. You can review the code at that point. Or maybe you are working with many people, you have many contributors. You can review changes they're making to your code. So it's an essential tool for online collaboration and version control. So please, you can fork this repository. You can make as much changes as you want to it. Basically, forking a repository simply means creating a copy of a repo, but on your own uh, GitHub profile. It won't affect my repository, but it will just copy it and create your own copy so that if you make changes on it, it won't affect the original repository. But I won't take a deep dive into GitHub in this tutorial, but I can, if you request it, I can make content on GitHub in a future tutorial. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Basically helps to set the basic structure or skeleton of the web page. Things like the header and footer area, the nav bar. So this is basically how a simple HTML web page looks like. And this is basically the web page that we're going to be designing today. Uh, Let me show you how it looks on the server. There is an extension I have here, and this is one of the extensions I like to use. You can look for it. It's called Live Server. I won't install it because it's already installed, but it's called Live Server. It's this one here. And the beauty of it, you are just about to see what it does in action. As you can see, it automatically renders your web page, and it shows changes in real time as you make them on your code base. Because for instance, maybe let's change something. Let's change this title here. And as you can see, it also changes. So this is what we are aiming for. At the end of this tutorial, we should come up with something that looks almost, if not exactly like this. So sit tight. So I'm going to be starting everything from scratch. Let's first create a new file, call it index.html. Basically, this is what most developers like calling the home page. Basically, we call it the index. So I'm going to first design a simple HTML layout using only HTML so that I can show you the different sections of a basic web page. So first start with doc type. And as you can see, the system already knows intuitively what you want to type, and it suggests it for you. Sorry, this head should not be within the body. Then now we have the header area. So sorry. Then we can have the nav area. Then within the body, we can have the main. Lastly, we can have the footer area. So these are just the different sections of your web page. You can see we have the doc type, which basically tells the browser that this is a HTML document. Then now this signifies the start of your HTML, and then you have the header area. The header is a different section. So basically within the head area, you write things like the meta tags. Like you can have meta description, meta name, description, then content. This is basically the description of your site. These are things that will not be displayed physically on the browser, but they are just meant to give the server more, the browser more information about your website. Like you can see, this is a bookshop, this is a shopping mall, anything of the sort. You can also add other types of meta tags. And now this is basically search engine optimization. It helps in informing the browser about additional information about your site. You can have keywords, although a lot of developers nowadays stopped using this because it was misused by a lot of people. Basically, it gives the server, the browser keywords about your site. Maybe you can say bookshop or shoes in Kenya. But developers really misused this feature because they were adding lots of keywords that some of them were not necessarily relevant to what was on the site. Basically, these keywords help in ranking your site. And nowadays, Google bots, they crawl the keywords automatically depending on the type of titles you have on your site, the content. So I'd say it's not a very useful feature. So I just paused the video so that I can import these meta tags, the rest of these meta tags. So these two, you don't need to know what they are about. This first two, UTF-8 is a type of character. It's a character type, but you don't exactly need to know what it is. Just know you need to always import them whenever you're creating a web page. What they do, it's not important for now. And also the device width or viewport basically helps the server to calculate the viewport of the width the specific user is using. But you don't need to know a lot about those two at the moment. Just always be copy pasting them whenever you create a web page. And then now we have the robots with index follow. This basically tells the Google bots or the search engine bots to be following your site for changes so that you can appear in search rankings. And this, you don't need it for now. I just added it to show you. This is basically like it's OG Open Graph. And basically, have you ever seen those Twitter cards? Or whenever you, let's say, for example, let's just go to Twitter for a moment. Have you ever seen such cards like this? Don't know if it, yeah, like this. So basically, this is this is Open Graph. Twitter has its own specific technology, but Google, Facebook, Open Graph was developed by Facebook. So basically, it uses this Open Graph technology so that whenever someone is linking to your site, the platform automatically knows maybe this is the title of my website. Obviously it will have the name of your website. I'm just putting in sample text. So there are different types of open graph. There is one for title, there is one for description, but I'm not going to go deep into them during this tutorial. I'm just giving you some short SEO pointers. Maybe if you want to also learn search engine optimization, you can go deeper into Open Graph and all those technologies, schema markup. But that's a bit advanced for our tutorial today. So that's it for this part of simple basic structure. These are the basic structure. Basically tells the server this is the header area, this is the navbar. The navbar is the menu of the website, like what we have here. This top part is the navigation. So it tells the browser that the navigation should go here at the top, basically. This is the header area where you put the nav, but this is the main where the content now of your site now goes, majority of the content. And this is now the footer area. The footer area is this part where you add some additional links, maybe newsletter. We're going to go deeper into all those different parts, but please sit tight and listen on for the next parts of the tutorial. Thank you. So as you can see, I've gone ahead and imported the rest of the style sheets like Bootstrap and also the scripts like jQuery and Bootstrap. Bootstrap is important for the front-end scaffolding that you're going to be using. And also jQuery is important for some of the components that you're going to be building during this tutorial. You don't need to know exactly what these links and scripts do. Just know for now that you need to import them when you're building your front-end application. Right now I'm going to be discussing what CSS is, and CSS basically stands for Cascading Style Sheet. It's the design language of the web, and it helps us design different components such as fonts, colors, and sizing. So when it comes to CSS, there are two main styles. Sorry, let me close this window. There are two main styles when it comes to CSS, and that is Flexbox and Grid. I'm going to be using Flexbox during this tutorial as Bootstrap is based on Flexbox. And now Bootstrap is a CSS framework, and you might be wondering what a framework is. A framework is basically like a structure for building software on. You see, languages are very complicated, and sometimes you might not want to start from scratch when building a web application, and this is what frameworks are for. It basically gives us a foundation for which to build an application or software on, so that we don't need to do everything from scratch. It basically makes our work easier. And we also have libraries. Some people confuse libraries and frameworks. They use them interchangeably in some aspects. But a library is focused on more specific tools and components like tabs, sidebars, sliders, or carousels. So examples of frameworks are things like Laravel, which is based on PHP, or Django, which is based on Python. Whereas an example of a library will be React or jQuery, which are both based on JavaScript. We also have languages. Libraries and frameworks are both based on language, and the language is now the whole underlying thing. Something like PHP, CSS, JavaScript, all these are languages. You're going to be using both libraries and frameworks in this tutorial, so you might get a chance to see them in action. So now I'm going to go a little bit into Flexbox and Grid, and these are just the two main methodologies when it comes to CSS. I'm going to first start with Grid. As you can see, we have some sort of a table or a matrix over here, and it has a series of columns and different rows. And these are important because it will help you in defining, let's say if you want an element to occupy column 1 and column 2 plus the bottom 2 rows. So you need to define in your CSS that this image will occupy this first 4 rows, or these first 2 columns and these first 2 rows. So you need to define that in your CSS, and you're going to see an example. As you can see, I have a grid. I'm not going to show you how it works in action, but basically this is a grid container first. This is now like the table, the whole table itself. And you need to define how many rows will you see will be in your grid. And you can just put, some people put percentages, or others put something like this, 1 frame, but I just like using the real dimensions. And also the columns, same thing. And you need to define the size, the columns, and the number. As you can see, I have 3 over here, 3 columns and 5 rows, meaning our grid would look something like, let me try to delete the column. As you can see, 3 columns and 5 rows. So this is basically how, need to delete one more row. This is basically how our grid looks like according to our CSS definition. And as you can see now, we can define where the specific elements will go. As you can see, we have image 1, and I don't know if I've gone into CSS styling. I think this is a little advanced for now, but this is basically a CSS style, and these are classes. As you can see, we have section pictorial, which sorry, I don't have the section here, but basically let me remove this. I just picked this piece from another code base, so it might not be exactly. I just wanted to demonstrate. So as you can see, we have a class that is called grid container, and this is what we'll target over here. This is basically the styling for this whole class, and this is the opening div and closing div. Most elements will have an opening and a closing. I don't know if I've specified that. You can see opening nav, closing nav. Unless specific elements like links, which don't have a closing element, or meta tags, or even image tags don't have a closing. But you're going to see the different elements and how they behave. So I've gone ahead and added the title of the site, because this is also important for SEO, because it tells the browser the name of the current web page that you are on. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to import the style sheets. Now we have created a custom style sheet. This is how you test whether your style sheet is working. We have added a custom style class. Let's see if it's going to work on our browser. And as you can see, the background is red. If we set it a different color, like blue, the background also changes. So now I'm going to go deeper into now the meat or coding the most of the components of the tutorial. So sit tight. And let no one lie to you, coding is mostly about copy pasting. So if you go to something like Bootstrap, because unless you've been coding for years and years, it's really difficult to get much of these things off the top of your head. You scroll down to navbar, and you can see you can copy this whole navbar, and it should be active on your code base. So let's see if it works. I'm waiting for. As you can see, our navbar has appeared on our page. So I'm going to copy exactly the navbar we have on. Sorry, let me open the original code. I'm going to open to copy. Let me declutterify this. Sorry. So I'm going to copy over the exact navbar that or the exact header area that we have. You can copy with me because it has the exact kind of styling and arrangement we have. We have copied over that whole section. Let's see how it looks. It should be real time, so this is how it looks. Then now let's copy we're going to be using now the swiper now. And let's go to this site, another site called Swiper.js. Just trying to show you how it's easy to look for some of these components that you're going to be needing in your day-to-day coding journey. Let's go to getting started. It's going to be loading for a little bit. So this is basically, we first need to include this link. So let's include it in our code. We copy paste it. Yeah, exactly. Let me just make it neat. As you can see, I'm trying to maintain a very clean code base, and that's important if you're working especially in a team. It helps people to be able to read through your code very easily and understand what it's about. And so we also need to import this script. So just follow through with me and import exactly what I'm importing. Oh, sorry, I've imported it on the wrong file. Not to worry, because I'm trying to juggle between two different code base. Because I'm just trying to show you much of these things. It's usually just copy and pasting. I'm not trying to lie to you that I'm removing these things off the top of my head. But these links and scripts we're importing are going to help us in the components that you're going to be using. And in this example, it's swiper. So let's copy over this chunk, or this whole section. First, let's start with a div class. The container, think of this basically like some sort of scaffolding for our front end. It basically helps to keep our components within certain dimensions so that it doesn't bleed over to the left or to the right. Because in my experience, especially with design, the human eye tends to focus on the center. So if you have content on the periphery here and here, people won't match. They won't. The user experience won't be the best. So these are just some miniature design principles that I'm trying to give you. So once you've added your container class, let's copy over this section. But you can use this, although in my experience, you can just copy this if you want to start building your own swiper from scratch. And you'll notice much of these components are also in what I'm going to copy over. Just like using the one that I've already worked with, because it helps me avoid a lot of bugs. Let's copy that. I'm trying to navigate between different tabs. And if we have this correctly, there's an error here. If we have this correctly, let's copy over this folder exactly as it is, this vendor folder, because it has our images, our assets like the images, and also some bootstrap assets. But we imported bootstrap straight from the CDN, so don't think we are going to be needing those bootstrap assets. So the vendor should be uploaded, and if we have pasted correctly, we should be seeing a slider here. Yeah, very good. We also need to initialize the slider, and you initialize it with something like this, although I'm going to copy my own version, because as I said, some of these documentations usually come with bugs off the box, but not to worry. You can just search on the internet and you're going to. So this is another component, and I'm sorry if I'm not explaining these components well, but this is basically a JavaScript sort of function or initialization. It helps to initialize this slider, and most of the packages that you'll be using are going to need an initialization script, as you're going to see. And if we have initialized correctly, our slider should start working now. If yours is not working, kindly check. You can add your own customization to it out of like if you want the loop to play automatically. See if it works. You can see it's going automatically. You can also add, there should be some swiper pagination. Do you know where ours is? For this here, swiper pagination is basically, see if it works. So I'm just showing you, you can play around with it, customize it any way you want. As you can see, we now have the dots that show us. You can navigate using the dots or the arrows. But this is basically showing you that you can build some of these components with very minimal coding language, with tools that other developers have already built. Now this is like a external, should I call it library or package? I think it's more of a package, but you can guide me on that. Right now I want to also copy over another style classes that is going to be very important. This overlay text. You're going to see something very important that I want to show you. You can see this is a comment basically. This is how you make comments in CSS. If you don't want a certain line to have effect in your CSS, basically you're just writing notes for future reference, especially if you're working on a team. This is how you make a comment basically. You write hyphen, two dashes. Now anything here in the middle will not take effect. But then again, you see, if we were to copy here, it also affects this other line. So we have to close out the comment like this. See? Basically, this helps to design our overlay. We can, as you can notice, this text has moved from down here up to inside. So you can actually do some little bit of design using only CSS by embedding text of an image and things like those. This is a little advanced for now, but just copy it over. You're going to grasp it in future. So now let's go to our next section. As you can see, that's complete external library. It didn't develop anything. I'm using only tools. So let's write another. Let's call this section blog. And now we have you can see this is column large 12. Then now I'm going to show you another bootstrap element that we can use. Oh, I already have the tab open here. You can see let me first take you through the documentation for Swiper, just so you can also know how to navigate some of this documentation. I'm trying to go to the documentation. Yeah. So as you can see over here, on the sidebar, is everything you need to know about how to use this swiper. You can see you can even add breakpoints, slides per view. For instance, if we change ours to, let's see how it affects. We have changed our slides to 2. You can see you're seeing two slides, but we also need to add some spacing. Sorry, I'm yawning a bit. don't know if the spacing works really, but I think we need to let's change the width of the and if you want to select the same element multiple times, you can just hold Command D or Control D and it will select. That's how I've been able to select all these three. Let's see how that affects. As you can see, there is spacing now. That's the sense of the spacing, but the text now looks bad because we didn't design text with two slides in mind. So I'm just going to change. I'm just trying to show you how it will look under different, and that you can customize it any way you want. You can add breakpoints. These device breakpoints are the number of slides a viewer will see if maybe they are on a tablet, they are on a phone, they are on a mini pad, depending on the width. This 60 for 8320 stands for the width. So there you can read through the documentation. There are lots of other fun stuff you can do with this bundle. So feel free to browse through the documentation. Right now I want to import another element called the card. As you can see here is the card element. But I'm going to copy it over from our code. I'm just trying to show you that all these are bootstrap elements that you can find right from the web, and you can just copy paste them and manipulate them any way you see fit. This is now a card element, same as this. You'll see there's a class called card, there's card body, card title, and those are just CSS classes. Let's delete this. And if I have copy pasted everything correctly, you should be able to see. Let's just add justify content. Let me first show you what this does, so that I can show you some bootstrap in action. And you see the card appears automatically. Let's add, as you can see, now I want to talk to you about a certain aspect of CSS. How do we erase this? I'm trying to find a way to erase everything. Let me pause as I try to find a way to to restart a new. Let me just refresh the page, because I want to show you how another component or aspect of CSS. Oh, okay, let me just create a new frame here. You know how to. So basically, when it comes to CSS, we can have this. Let's say this is our element. Let's put some text here. Element X or whatever class you give it. And then now we can have another. Let's pick pens. Now between element X and the next element, especially within element, sorry, let me try draw a better square. Within element X, there is something we call fast padding. And this is the space between the element and its border. And after the padding, we're going to have now the border. These are just some aspects of HTML and CSS. So let's say this line here is the border. And then now, after the border, we are going to have what we call, we're going to have our margin now. And this is going to be the spacing between our element and the next element. Let's call this margin. So if we have another element, let's say this is a div, the next element will only start from, let me pick the pencil, will only start from here, as you can see, meaning its border will probably start something from here inside, you see. So this will be the spacing between our element. This will be the margin basically. Let's call it margin. These are important aspects of HTML, so just try to keep them in mind. But in a nutshell, that's what padding, border, and margin is. So I was explaining that because I wanted to add a margin. We're just going to go into our style sheet. I'm copying these layers one by one just so you can see them in action. I don't see there. Let's copy this global style. And as you can see, I've tried to be really neat with my application. Let's copy them here. Neatness is very important, especially if you're working with other people, because it will help people to be able to. And if we've copied it correctly, you're going to see you're going to see now there is a spacing at the top. Now this is the padding now, as you can see. Let me just show you how to use the developer tools that come with Google, because it's really helpful. It can help you show you the specific style classes in action. Because as you can see right here on the left, we should be able to see the padding. Don't know why it's not appearing here, but it should appear. Yeah, it's here. So if we check off this, you see the padding disappears. You see? And it tells you the exact line where the specific line that is influencing your element is. You see it's in line 7. So Google automatically crawls your code base and it knows exactly where the different style classes are that are affecting your element. So that's just some of the tips of how to use your Google developer tools, which no one usually mentions. I'm yet to come across a tutorial that talks about how to use the developer tools like a pro. So I'm just going to copy paste our element here a few times. Sorry. It should multiply itself a few times. You can see. So now I just want to add like a really intuitive piece of Bootstrap just to show you how Bootstrap works off the box. As you can notice, our elements are a bit squished to the left side. So I want to center them on the page. And what I need to do is very simple. I just come. This is the beauty with Bootstrap. It's very intuitive and easy to use. Justify content center. Voila. Our elements are at the center of the page. So now I want to add another component. And let's go over to this site we call jQuery UI. Let's look for As you can see, there are different elements. There are things like accordions, we have checkbox. So you can, the good thing is it demonstrates how the different elements work. So for now, I'm going to use a tab, and what you just need to do is to click on this view source, and you can just copy your tab. First, we're going to need to import these two styles, of which I've already imported them. That's why I was telling you they are really important. This jQuery UI and jQuery.me, because most of the components for front end are going to be using jQuery. So it's good to just include them without a second thought to it, so that you don't need to encounter troubles at the end. And you can also see this page is using most of the meta tags and the components that we imported ourselves. That's why I was telling you it's important to include these things. The only thing we haven't included that we can also include is this part, which basically tells the browser which language you are using. So let's copy first this script. This is an initialization script. As I said, most of these packages or libraries you use are going to need initialization. And as you can see, this is another best practice when it comes to web development. I'm copying my scripts at the bottom because it's important, because they will be triggered after all these links and style sheets and scripts have already been loaded. Plus, they won't make your website lag, because if I put them here at the top, for instance, the page will need first to wait for this scripts or this code to pull the CDNs before the page loads. And basically, this is just some responsiveness lessons or performance lessons. It's important in speeding up your site and making the site work really fast off the box. So let's go ahead and import this. This is another important thing if you want to use the base themes for it's an important thing to have. And then once you're done, you can just import that tab. Let's first create a new section again. Most of coding is repetitive, and I don't think if I explained IDs to you. Basically, IDs and classes can be used interchangeably, but this is an ID. An ID is targeted differently in CSS. I'm going to show you how that works in a minute. First, let's add a row. You see now this one is using a class. Like Bootstrap uses classes to target much of its elements. So let's see if our tab has loaded. And as you can see, we already have our tab here. It's operating well off the box. And the essence of importing this over here is so you don't need to do some custom styling. It comes off the box with the jQuery's own styling. So it's a really good website if you want to import components that you can use off the box and customize it any way you want. You can target these specific tabs and customize them anyway depending on your preference. So I'm not going to customize during this tutorial. In fact, I'm just going to copy over the the exact tab that I used. But I'm going to give you guys a homework. If you feel you're confident with your skills, go ahead and customize the tab any way you want. Try to target the specific classes and change their colors, change the borders, change the padding and whatnot. And let's see what you come up with. You can comment the results below the video. So as you can see, I've added 2 default tabs. This is an important aspect that you can use in many websites. In order to see like the tabs are also changing, let's see, this is a tech article and this is a politics article. See, this one has changed. This one has changed. Should be science, but I'm just trying to show you that the content inside is changing depending on which tab you are on. It's a useful tool to have. So right now I'm just going to paste much of the style classes so that I can explain IDs and classes to you. But I think we have already created some of our own styling. As you can see, we have like a header, an ID. If you want to know ID, an ID starts with a hashtag. As you can see, we have our section header. It's targeting this one. So this is what we have now. So just to show you what specificity entails, let's say we have this class. You can see this image, it's influencing this specific image, this swiper slide, swiper upper slider container, up to the specific image itself. This one without a dot, it means it's targeting the specific element, this element itself within the swiper slide class, inside the swiper upper class, inside. So you need to go deeper and deeper so that your style classes do not clash. Let me say for instance, I just add img, meaning all image elements should have a width of 50%. Don't think this will take any effect. As you can see, the images are unchanged. But let's say I was to, because it's not specific enough, but let's say I was to delete this class. How are the images going to change? It's because also I want to explain another aspect. These are what we call inline styles. You can add styles over here inside the HTML using this style tag, or you can add them here, but it's good practice to add the styles in the HTML itself. But right now I just want to remove this style so that you can see the width of the image changes in the slider, because we have this class necessitating all images to have a width of, but it's only affecting the image on the slider. Let's return our class back. It stops to have any effect. The images are now 100%. Let's return the inline styles. So the inline styles will have the most credence, and then followed by the most specific class, which in our case it's this, because it has targeted the specific element inside the specific classes. You can see even the height changes because in our inline styles we have included this. If we, let's say we delete the height, see the height changes. So you can play around with this stuff. You might not master them off the box, but they are good things to master. So right now I want to add another page. I'm not going to go deep into the specific elements of the page, but I want right now when we click on, you see this is a button. So it's supposed to take us somewhere, but it's not taking us to the specific blog. So let's add a file here, blog.html. I'm just going to copy paste it. I'm not going to go into the details of this page. And now if it works, see, it takes us to a different page. So basically it's because of this href tag, which targets, inside the href we put the target, which is blog.html. So when you click on that, it takes us to that specific page or route. This page has something that our main page doesn't, which is the footer. Just copy paste the footer exactly as it is. You remember in our layout we had a footer section. The footer basically, good luck, we should also have a footer in our home page. So you can see, let's delete this maybe. You see the icon disappears. Let me just show you where I get these icons, because the icons are also an important part of front end. The icon reappears. You can just go to Bootstrap icons and you can Google maybe, let's say, envelope for the email, and you get exactly that. You can copy the SVG. Just trying to show you much of code is copy pasting basically. You can use this class, although I'm not going to use it right now because I'm going to need to import a lot of, as you can see it appears here, I'm going to need to import a lot of other packages that I'm not ready to import right now. But if you want to use them as components, we call them an I, which stands for icon probably. You can just copy paste it and paste it in your code. There are other icons like icon packages like Font Awesome. You can also use this. You can see they have very many classes of icons. So before I close off this tutorial, I just wanted to explain a bit about our image tag. An image, as you should know by now, it's used to include an image on the web page. And as you can see, like this is an image. It's using an image tag. This is another image. Even our slider has an image inside it. So you can see the file structure. It's vendor, which is this file right here, assets, which is this file right here, image, which is another folder, sorry, and then the image itself, like this blog. So it basically tells the machine the directory structure of the image. That's why we have the src attribute. And then another thing I wanted to explain, I don't know if this will work with our image. You can see we have a drop down. Drop down is another Bootstrap component, and if you want to edit your navbar, you can just come and edit the different components. Like here we have categories, and it should change also, you see. And here maybe you can put politics. Sorry, my machine is misbehaving a bit. Yeah, here you can put politics. Let's say you can add science here. Maybe tech. So as you can see, this changes with it. Now you can add the tag to the specific route if you add the specific folder, so that when you click on it, it leads to that. But I'm not going to go into the depths of that at this moment. So now we've come to the end of our tutorial, and I just wanted to provide you with the next steps that you can take in this tutorial. So if you want to become a front-end dev, the next steps for you will be likely to learn more about Bootstrap, learn more about CSS. You can pick another framework for CSS. Bootstrap is not the only framework. You can pick something like Tailwind, CSS, and also you can learn how to make your front-end design more responsive using JavaScript. And you can even proceed down the ranks of JavaScript. You can learn ECMAScript or ES6, which is the latest standards for JavaScript. You can pick a JavaScript framework once you're confident with vanilla JavaScript. You can do something like Vue or React, or Next.js. There are dozens of JavaScript frameworks, so you can choose one that is to your liking. For those of you who want to be backend developers, you can also learn a backend language like Python or PHP. Once you're confident with the foundational concepts, you can also pick a framework like Laravel or Django, which is based on Python, as I said earlier, or Flask. So these concepts take time to master, so don't beat yourself up if you are not getting them right off the box. Uh, just continue practicing, continue building. Don't stay too much on the tutorials. Just learn the language itself, the vanilla language. Don't go straight to the frameworks, because in my experience, if you go straight to the frameworks without a good grasp of the foundational concepts, then you'll get lost. So just take a few hours to learn the foundational concepts, or a few days, few weeks. People have different speeds, and once you're confident with those skills, you can proceed to learn now to pick a framework. So be sure to leave a comment, a like, subscribe, press the bell button in order to be notified when we post our next content. Watch this space, because we're going to be posting. As you can see, we built a blog page, and we are going to be making our blog page interactive. So we are going to include a back end of this project. We're going to use PHP or Laravel probably for the back end. We can also use Django private with both technologies. So essentially, we are going to be building a whole application, front end and back end, from scratch. And by the end of this tutorial, hopefully, your web development skills move from zero to hero. So our tutorials will always be free. We do not believe in charging for knowledge. So if you want to learn for free, you can just stick to this channel, and we promise you that the content we produce here for free will take you from zero to hero in terms of web development. But if you also wish to support the channel, we'll also be producing some exclusive members only content. For those of you, because we know people learn at different pace, there are some people who need extra help. So if you also need extra mentorship, you can. I'm going to be linking a contact form in the description. So just drop your name, your email, and the message. Just put the words help or mentorship plus your phone number. Also, you can join our Discord channel, where you can get in touch with like-minded individuals, professionals with years of experience in the field who can help you with career advice, guidance if you're stuck. And we'll also be giving you even in-person Zoom sessions if you need to discuss certain parts where you're stuck. So these are just some of the services that we'll provide to help you along your tech journey as a beginner developer. Otherwise, take care and Godspeed.